And we're back, Red Press. The Premier League grind continues. Liverpool obviously drew 2-2 with Aston Villa last night. Arne Slot was at it already again this morning, facing the press for his press conference, looking ahead to Manchester City on Sunday. It just doesn't stop, does it? There's no respite there at all. I mean, I think we saw that a little bit last night, the way that the players are kind of maybe struggling a little bit mentally. You know, obviously there's a little bit of cloud over supporters as well. There seems to be fatigue from the supporters as well. Every draw feels a little bit like a defeat. But there are positives. There are plenty of positives there. I'll get onto those in a second there. First, I want to talk about the big thing noticed in last night's match against Villa, and that was the change in formation. Liverpool normally, of course, go for a 4-3-3. You can loosely call it that, I think, with single pivots, usually Gravenberg at the base of midfield there. Against tougher opposition, or away from home sometimes, they'll go for a double pivot with McAllister dropping in there as well. Last night, it was clearly different. It was completely different. It looked like it was a 4-4-2 with a box midfield and two split strikers. Obviously, the split strikers, Diogo Jota on the left, Mohamed Salah on the right. The box midfield consisting of Gravenberg, McAllister deep, and then Jones and Szoboszlai a bit further forward there. Bit confusing at times, figuring out what was going on there. At times it looked like Jones was a left winger, then obviously Jota would come in there, split and go left. Jones would try and get beyond the Villa defence by making those central runs. Then you'd see Szoboszlai trying to do the same there. Didn't quite happen, I think, to how maybe Slot would have liked it. There was one chance there when it looked like Jones was through, but it didn't quite happen there. But it was interesting seeing a pretty much completely different change of formation from Slot. Largely we've seen very, very similar setups from Liverpool, no matter who we're playing, no matter where we're playing. So it's curious, I'm curious really to know, did he change this formation specifically because we were playing Aston Villa and he thought that's the best way to nullify them? Or is it a change of formation because he wants to try something different? He's kind of not run out of ideas, but Liverpool aren't really playing in the way that we did earlier in the season. Is he just trying something different to freshen it up? Or does he think like this group of players that we've got right now, this point in the season, need to play in a slightly different way there? So it's going to be interesting to see how Liverpool set up against Manchester City and then against Newcastle. I would be a little bit worried if it was the second of those options and that Slot just wants to try something different. Slot wants to try and freshen up things, or he's not quite sure what's going wrong with the team, so he's changing the formation. Usually your top coaches are wedded to a philosophy, wedded to a formation. So I won't say it's worrying to see a change of that at this point in the season when Liverpool obviously needs something extra, but I don't know. We'll see what happens there. It'd be interesting to see what happens against City. It didn't quite work, even though Liverpool were much better. And that's, I guess, the first positive takeaway against the Villa game, is that Liverpool were better performance-wise than the Everton game and against the Wolves game, especially the first half, until we found ourselves 2-1 down. It should never have happened, really. But there was signs there that Liverpool were much better kind of braced to take on Villa, score goals and maybe get a winner. And that is how the game could have happened. Obviously, maybe if Núñez would have put that shot away. But Liverpool did get a point. They still haven't been beaten away from home in the league, in the Premier League this season, but really they need to start being a little bit more clinical, but keeping it on the positives. Let's talk about Mohamed Salah for a second. Obviously, he's in a rich vein of form. It continues to keep going. Without Salah, Liverpool would look pretty ordinary, but he's doing it week in, week out. And apparently last night he became the first Liverpool player to score 15 away Premier League goals in a season, breaking Luis Suarez's record of 14 way back in 2013, 2014. And he also became the first player to score more than 15 goals and 15 assists in a Premier League season since Eden Hazard did it back in 2018, 2019. So obviously we can all see ourselves what Mo Salah's doing, but the stats also speak for themselves. Also had a good game last night was, I think, in the midfield, in this new midfield, Alexis McAllister, first off, really, really good. One of my criticisms of McAllister, I think, early on in his Liverpool career, is that he wasn't quite robust enough. to play in a Liverpool team. I think playing for Liverpool was a different kind of challenge than playing for Brighton week in, week out. I think players were maybe targeting as a weak link physically. He wasn't quite getting bullied, but I don't think, as I say, he was robust enough. What we've seen this season, and certainly last night against Villa, that he can handle himself physically in the middle of the park. He was certainly targeted last night when the fouls against him were relentless at one point there. He didn't react. He just got up, got on with it, and I think he was excellent, as he usually is. Dominic Szoboszlai, also really good in central midfield, taking responsibility, lots of energy, a little bit of quality there, but I'd like to have seen him take a bit more responsibility when it came to that Núñez miss. And we can criticise Núñez. He's getting a lot of criticism there from all over the place. I mean, you would expect him to do better. International forward, he's got to do better there. If he doesn't feel he can take on his left, he's got to do better. Maybe try and trap on his right and bring it inside or do something. But what I would say is that I also feel that Szoboszlai should have taken that extra bit of responsibility in that part of the game and had a shot himself. I thought he was excellently placed, and I think passing it with whichever the Villa defender that was coming in to slide, I think that was actually a more difficult chance than Szoboszlai had, even though obviously he had the goalkeeper as well to beat. Szoboszlai should have shot. But he was excellent there. Liverpool are still top of the league with a bit of a margin there. Bit more of a margin for error. Not much. That is the big positive there, but Liverpool need to start improving that mentality. Physically, obviously, they're going to be a little bit beat, but mentally, they just look very, very fragile. It's up to the experienced players in the team to lift those around them, because we can see the difference in the mentality can change in a second. When Liverpool were 2-1 down, they just looked, bereft of confidence. They were really struggling. As soon as that Trent goal went in, everything lifted for a while, and Liverpool looked like a different team. We need to see that against Man City. I think it'll be a different proposition there, playing against Man City away. I think they know they're going to have to play in a certain kind of football. Man City aren't going to sit back, play a low block at home or nothing like that. So it's going to be a very open game of football. I think it'll be a different Liverpool on Sunday than what we've seen over the past week or so. So there are positives there. It's not all doom and gloom. I think it's a pivotal point in the season right now. If Arne Slot can manage this team, and if those senior players can manage the team to get through this next section of games, then things can look a little bit brighter in March. In March, there's less Premier League games, but Liverpool, of course, playing Champions League football. That comes back against either Benfica or PSG. So I think we're playing a couple of rounds of Champions League football in March. We've got a Carabao Cup game, Carabao Cup final in March as well. I think what we'll see there is possibly a similar thing to last season, where it's mainly academy kids playing. I think at some point something's got to give, and if Liverpool are in a good position to win the league while that final happens, I think we'll see some kind of rotation there. But that's another story for another day. But there are positives. Liverpool just need to get through to spring, get out of this winter, get through to spring with still a little bit of a margin there, and put the pressure on Arsenal at some point. If Arsenal don't come up with the goods on Saturday, then things start to look a little bit brighter for Liverpool on the Sunday. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns in this Premier League title race. It ain't over yet. It's just it's just getting started. It's getting exciting. Liverpool are going to drop more points. Arsenal are going to drop more points. And so let's see what happens. So Reds, we're top of the league still. Have a smile. Enjoy the moment now, because we're still top of the league. Enjoy the moment on Sunday when it's another big, massive game against Manchester City. Up the Reds.